lasted a little longer, so he started down, and he went down and rescued 2 of them. He could only bring one up at a time, and he got the second one up, and then he couldn't go down anymore because he was affected by the not being able to breathe. There was another miner there, I don't remember his name, but he went down and got the third one. They were all dead. They called the doctors from Blakesburg, Eddyville, and the boy, the nephew that was from Des Moines, his folks heard it.
And the boys' names weren't Noe.
No, they were not.
Harold
Hanson
Thompson.
boys.
They were Harold,
Oh, yeah, that's
Harold
right.
Potts, Harold, and
the Hans
his
Thompson
brother.
brother. And the parents heard in Des Moines, they heard that somebody had called and said that their son was in the mine, and they called them to Eddyville, and they told them that all 3 of them were dead. So that's how they heard their son.
Okay, so
was
the
dead.
third one went down to try and get the first and the second?
Yep, they all went down within a matter of minutes, you know, so.
Were they
trying to save
miners
them.
or were they just kids?
No, they had a mine. They were running this little mine.
Oh, okay, so they were
They were,
not
They had
just
dug the
plain.
hole for the shaft.
Uh-huh.
the
The
nephew
Hansons.
just went down.
Well, by this time, John was no longer a miner, he was a farmer.
He was farming.
Okay, and,
They called him from the farm.
okay. Well, what did he use when
Because
he
he
went
had
down? Did he have a gas
He
mask?
started, he started the motors to,
No, I mean, what,
the air in the fan. The fan brought the gas
Oh, okay.
out.
Well, why didn't it kill him?
Well, he didn't go down until he got the air pretty
Oh.
much to the right. He didn't rush right down there.
Okay.
He put this light down, and when the light
Yeah.
went out, well, he knew, then he worked on the fan.
Oh,
And
okay,
it
there
knew
wasn't
it was
something
no
they could
use
put
going
on
down
to
there
protect
because
them.
when they keeled over, they were dead.
Oh, I see.
That's called the black dance.
Uh-huh. Oh, goodness. Well, that was, how old was he when that happened? You
Oh,
know?
he's probably
Dad?
50.
Yeah,
Well, we were all
They
born.
were all,
you were all
We
around.
were all
Okay.
adults.
They were all grown.
We were
Well,
all
sure.
grown.
Oh,
That
goodness.
wasn't too many years ago.
you have it in that magazine or that paper, what year it was, I forgot.
Okay. Well, that was kind of scary, but I imagine he had a lot of close calls working in the mines.
Yes, I imagine, but he knew what to do.
Did Mom write the paper?
He wasn't a farmer, he was,
Oh, no, Mom didn't write the paper.
Oh, well, I got a paper somewhere that Mom wrote, gave to me about her.
well, that was just her trip to school.
Oh, that's
Now,
true.
wait,
You're- you're
I'll
way
tell you
up.
one thing about Grandpa,
What?
and that was, when he lived in, wait a minute, I'll get mixed up. Oh, when he lived, working in Munchakina, why, the miners went on a strike, and they brought Mr. Buxton brought a lot of black people up from the south
Two loads of,
to run the mine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dad was working at the mine, so he took a powder keg, which is a keg about that high, made of metal, and that's what they got their powder in, to blow the coal loose, you know. And Dad and somebody else took and cut 2 eyes, nose, and mouth, and put the pit lamp in there, down in the mine. And the colored people came and saw it and thought it was a ghost or something, and they went clear out of the mine. Gone out, and Dad lost his job.
Really?
are you sure that's a true story?
Grandpa told it.
Is that why he went to Illinois? Where I
Yeah,
So,
then we went to Illinois.
Okay,
We
so-
went to Illinois.
after they left Buxton, they went to Gillespie,
Illinois, but then they returned to Buxton.
then they returned to Buxton. Oh,
And Mother used to go home at Christmas time. And she went home from Illinois to St. Louis. And then she went on to Buxton. And Uncle Adolph met the train. And your mother had, that wasn't right, was it?
No.
Oh, yes, because I was the baby. And he said he met the train, and there was Mildred and Carl and Ralph and Johnny, and I was a baby. And Uncle Adolph said, Annie, it looks like you've got enough kids without bringing Mildred's doll. She said, "This is no doll, this is Irene."
And Mom had laid Irene down in one of the seats there in the depot. Big fat colored lady came along and sat on her, sat on part of her.
She had to put me down, put her umbrella down, and she came up. Carl and Ralph ran away. She couldn't find them, so she sent Mildred after them. And Mildred didn't come back, so Mother put me down in the seat, and the train came in, and the depot filled up with people. She put me down and she had an umbrella, and she put it over. When she came back, the whole place everybody was seated, and she came up to where she left me, and there was a colored lady sitting on me, and she said, "Oh my, I have a baby under there." But I was still alive.
You didn't get
She
hurt,
lived.
huh?
No,
She
I didn't
lived.
get hurt.
Oh, God. Were Johnny and Carl and Ralph always getting in trouble when they were little?
Ralph wasn't.
I seem to remember hearing that when you were gonna get ready to go to to Midsummer out at Munnerville,
Sunday school.
or Sunday school, and after she would get one of you cleaned up, she'd tie you to a chair with a dish towel while she worked on the next one or something? Is that
She set
true?
us in
That could
chairs.
be,
I don't think she tried us.
You don't think she tied you?
Set you on the chair.
What are you trying to think of?
Nothing, I said she would set the boys on a chair while she cleaned the next one up,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it'd get dirty. I don't think that was in Munnerville though.
Did you have to
think
babysit
so.
a lot, Mildred? Did you have to babysit a lot?
What?
Did you have to babysit?
Oh,
Everybody.
well, I suppose I did while Mom did the work.
She babysat
Uh-huh.
me.
Babysit.
She said that's why one hip,
Yeah, I
One
used to
hip
have
was
to
bigger
carry
than
them
the other.
around on my side on one hip, and one hip is a little larger, a little higher than the other, or a little lower. I don't
she
know
blames
where
that
it's-
onto me.
Blames that on
Yeah.
you, huh? Kinda like carrying a bag of books or something.
Yeah, potatoes, sack of flour.
I remember about Dad telling his first sight of American cookies. He thought they were cookies when they came over here, and they had to stop in New York and.
That was Mother.
Huh?
That was Grandma. Mother. I
Yeah,
just
they've
told
already
them that
told
story.
You told that story. Oh, about the apple pie.
Yeah. What did they think? Didn't Grandma, write something about seeing, what did she see, the Statue of Liberty
Yeah.
or
You had that
Alexander?
writing, Grandma wrote her story about coming over from Sweden.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think she wrote one for each one of we kids, same copy.
Were they worried when they came through Ellis Island that they would be turned down or sent back or anything?
I don't think so. She never said.
That was a lot of sweet Scandinavian people came over then at the same time, didn't they? Early 1900s? No, late 1800s.
Yes, 18.
Not out of tape, yeah.
So
We
that
had-
was the end of the story.
Yeah, that's the end of the
Good.
story.
The
Okay,
end, huh?
I'll just tell you this. We had, I know you're ended, we had the folks, Grandma and Grandpa had some relatives over in Sweden. They still do, have had all the time, you know. But this was some relatives their age, and they found out that Grandma and Grandpa, my grandma and Grandpa, used to write to them all the time. They did up until they passed away. And these relatives were just about Dad's age and Mom's age, and they couldn't find a job. They couldn't get a job over in Sweden. They didn't want to stay on the farm. So Grandpa said, well, come over here. There's a lot of jobs in Pennsylvania. That's how Pennsylvania got into the story, see. So this aunt, what was that aunt's name?
Sophie?
Well, Sophie was her daughter. Aunt,
Not
anyhow, this aunt and uncle came over here, over to Pennsylvania. So we went over to visit them. I was just 3 years old when Mom and Dad took me and went over to visit these relatives of theirs. And I remember Mom said, on the train I got hungry, and they bought some bread, a sandwich of some kind, some bread, and it had caraway seeds in it. And I stood up on the seat and just screamed and yelled and said there were bugs in this bread. And Mom said, no, that's caraway seeds. I said, no, that's bugs. And I wouldn't eat it. Or worms.
Spoiled brat. You're a spoiled brat.
That happened when we went over to visit our relatives. And Johnny, he was just a baby, and and Grandma and Grandpa and Aunt Bertha and Aunt Gussie took care of him while we went over to Pennsylvania.
But when we would go to Grandma and Grandpa's in Buxton when we were, all little kids, and she didn't have enough room to sleep us all. So Irene and I would sleep we fought because we didn't want the boys to sleep in the bathtub. We got to sleep in the bathtub every time we went over, because that was something new. We didn't have a bathtub at our house.
Mildred, when Grandpa went to Pennsylvania, he had just been burnt by electricity at the mine, and he couldn't go to work for a couple of weeks, and that's when
right.
we went over to Pennsylvania
To visit.
to visit. And Dad wanted to go bear hunting, and he had that little gun that Carl's got, supposed to still have, He had that little gun, and he went up into the mountains with somebody that he knew or something. But anyway, they saw some bear tracks, and they tracked him, and all of a sudden this bear stood up and went like this, and Grandpa looked at the shotgun, and he looked at the bear, and he said, come on, boy, let's get out of here. I've heard Dad tell that story so many times. So he didn't even shoot, he just got out of there.
Just took out of it. That was Grandpa Larson?
No, Grandpa Olson.
Grandpa Olson,
Oh, John Olson.
my dad.
Oh, okay, John Olson, okay. In Pennsylvania, though.
Yeah, but he was there because he couldn't work on account of he'd been burnt by electricity, and he had to heal all the burns up.
Uncle Lou and Grandpa were hurt in the mines, and Uncle Lou lost his leg.
What, that was, Grandma, or Anna's brother?
Yeah.
Lou's brother and her dad, and his dad got hit with a chunk of coal or something in his temple, and he had a little hole there. I remember we kids used to try to put our hands in that little hole. But they were both injured in the mine.
What happened to Lou in the mine? Did he get his leg crushed or something?
Yes.
Yeah, the slate fell on him, and he crushed his leg, and they had to cut it off. And he could jump any fence you put in front of him.
He
with one leg.
he had crutches from them.
Jump
He
was
just had one crutch, didn't he?
No, he had both
No,
crutches.
he didn't
but-
have the crutches.
He had both crutches, but he could come up to a fence and just jump over on using the crutch, And we thought he was wonderful.
Was he
And
a grown man
He
when
died during
this
the
happened?
flu epidemic in 1918.
That's what I was gonna say, he died during 1918, during the
Yeah.
flu epidemic?
Flew up. He lived with his parents all his life.
Okay, so he was not married. Do you have, are we out? Or do we still have some?
Yeah?
Do you have any idea how John and Anna met?
They met when Mom was working for
For the Buxtons?
Buxton, and that was there was a great big house right down here between Oskaloosa and Eddyville. And that's where the Buxtons lived, and they built this great big house. Mr. Buxton was very rich, and he heard there was coal out here in Iowa, and he bought the land, see? And so Mom, by that time, she was about 17 or something like that, 18 I suppose, or maybe a little older, I don't know. And they liked Mother. They had her come and babysit for their two girls. They had 2 girls. And then when they'd go east, when she would go east, he didn't go. He had to stay here where his business was. But every summer she would go east. Well, she always took Mother to take care of these two little girls. That's all Mom had to do. Didn't have to fix any food or anything. It was all fixed. And they had some very wealthy relatives over in the Buxtons did over in the east.
Harbor, Maine.
I think the way they met was, Dad came over to Buxton's and his shirt had a button off. And he asked Mom to sew this button on, and she did. I don't know if that was the first time they met or what.
So they were probably around
But anyhow, they
18
met
years
their
old or
dad.
so?
They were both Lutherans, and I imagine they met at the
And they
church.
worked a job. And he would go to the Buxton's house, you know, and talk over this job that he had. It was a very important job in the mine. And of course, he saw Mom there, and they started dating.
There is in Oskaloosa, in the mall up at Oskaloosa, there is a sheet of music. Have you seen it? And it's written by Mr. Buxton, and it was named the Catwalk, or no, what would that be? In other words,
The cat's
Buxton
meow.
wrote music, and there's, in this mall up at Oskaloosa, that sheet of music is still there, written by Mr. Buxton. The Cakewalk. The Cakewalk. Yeah.
When she would go with them all the way back to the east coast, would they go by train?
Train.
By train?
They went by train.
That was probably a pretty good job for her, wasn't it?
She also answered the door. When somebody came, she would go to the door, and she said one time, she didn't go to the door. Mrs. Buxton went to the door, and Dad was coming to see her, and he opened the door and ran in and grabbed her, and here was Mrs. Buxton.
Most embarrassing moments.
Yeah.
So where were they married then? Were they married?
Mom, I remember Mom telling about sitting on a, she took the two Buxton girls, they had two daughters, Corinne and, I don't remember what the other one's name was. Anyhow, she'd take them out walking in the sunshine and fresh air, and before she put them to sleep, and in the daytime, and they would play in the grass, and she would take them under some trees, and she'd sit down and write a letter to Dad. They weren't married yet. They were just going together when they got back together. And she said she spread her dress out like this, and had her paper and pencil on her knee. And she said she looked down, and here was a great big snake curled up on her dress. I remember that, and how frightened she was.
Oh, goodness. Did she get
But
bit?
She didn't get bitten by it.
Squash
Do you remember that story?
Well, that wasn't, in other words, he was on his way to work at Tuscaloosa when he smashed the dinner button.
He was on his what? I didn't hear you.
He was going from Martin's to Martin Olson's to Munchakinock to work. He worked at Munchakinock. And he would walk over there. It's a matter of 3 or 4 miles probably. And he didn't like snakes. And this was just a big bull snake, wouldn't hurt you at all, you know. But Dad went over to the rail fence to get a rail. He wanted to kill that big snake. And he set his dinner bucket down. When he came back, the snake was wrapped around his dinner bucket.
Squashed it.
Squashed it, and Dad just took the rail, he said, and he broke the snake and dinner bucket.
So that was the story.
Where were they married? Where were they married? You know?
I would say Munchakinock.
What?
Where were they married?
Munchakinock,
Tells on that photo you had,
I
Kate.
think. Yeah, or it could have been Oskaloosa. Where's that wedding thing that we had?
Yeah, I'll have to
Gail
look
has
at
it.
it.
Gail has
It's
it.
a small word.
It may have been in
Given?
Oskaloosa.
Given.
Yeah, something
Given?
like that. I
Yeah, I
hadn't heard
think
of
it was
before.
Given, Iowa.
Given.
It was right there.
Some of the Swedes lived in Beacon.
Did all of the Swedes marry Swedes? Did anybody,
Well,
I mean,
was
what would have
told
happened
they
if, Anna would have wanted to marry an Italian or something back
did. Well, I
then?
suppose that would have been all right.
I guess
just like
she
it
could
is
have
now. We wouldn't have been quite as blonde as we are, perhaps.
Yeah. But it wasn't a major problem, or, I mean,
Oh, I
it's,
don't think so, no.
well, how did she learn to speak English? How did any of them learn to speak English? Did they go to school after they got
Close to
over here?
Beacon and Gibbon and those were little towns outside of Oskaloosa there.
Mildred went to Swede school.
What?
You went to Swede school in Buxton,
Oh, yeah, where did I? I went to grade school in Buxton,
Swede school.
Swedish school, so I could read and write Swedish.
Okay. But they, I don't remember either John or Anna having a heavy accent. They spoke English very well. They just
They did.
self-taught?
Because they were young, you know.
Yeah.
If they'd have been older, they wouldn't have.
The only time they would speak Swedish is when they wanted to say something they didn't want we kids to hear them.
That's how we learned Swedish.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to, do you have anything else you want to say? Shall we stop and have some ice cream?
No, I think that's about it.
Think of anything, Mildred, that I haven't asked you about?
Oh, no, the only thing is we still have some relatives. I told you that some of our relatives
Yeah.
stopped in Pennsylvania
Uh-huh.
and they got jobs. And then the kids married and then some of them moved Taylorville, Illinois, some of the kids, and worked in the banks, and worked in the mines at Taylorville. And they used to come and visit us. And there's a couple of second cousins or third cousins, I don't know which, I haven't stopped to figure that out, that live in, where does Bertha live? Oh, she still lives in Taylorville.
Yeah, she lives in there.
How old was John when he quit mining and went into farming?
When the mine closed at Buxton.
Oh, okay, and that's why. Okay.
And he went to farming at 1914. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so,
Didn't he, Mildred? When did we move?
They
To
used-
Tioga.
Yeah.
1914, because it
I
was
think so.
just before the start of the World War I.
what's Tioga? What's Tioga?
Tioga, Iowa.
It's a little town up here for Rose Hill.
It's where we all went to school.
Oh, okay.
They used to have the big, what they call miners, we call them miners trains, come out from Buxton every morning and bring the miners out to number 12, for instance, with just a string of cars hauling the miners out to the.
Kind of like
miners that
commuter
lived there.
trains.
But-
Yeah, that's what it was.
But we lived there. My dad lived there because he had to watch his machinery. He kept his machinery real
Well, he had to
clean.
be close enough where if they had an accident or something, he could walk a block over to the pits.
So we stayed there quite a while. That was out of my number 16.
Well, I went to school, so I went to school.
That's where I started school,
Was in
at number 16.
number 16.
Do
Okay.
you remember?
It
we
was
had
out in
a-
the country.
Do you remember, Mildred, we had a horse?
Huh?
Or did we borrow a horse? When we lived at 16, we had a horse,
Uh-huh.
and you and everybody, neighbor kids and all would ride on this horse, and you'd just fill that horse. And I would lead the horse around, and I took and led him right underneath the clothesline, and it just cleared the whole bunch off.
That was at Tioga, Iowa, and I was on the tail end of that horse. And all of them landed on me. You took us under a cherry tree.
That was a close
Your
one.
two cousins.
Did you get in trouble?
Well, the horse stepped on you.
I still got the scar.
Oh my gosh.
Not that one.
No. He was always pulling tricks.
What happened to Carl when he lost didn't he lose one or two fingers?
Well,
Was that
got
when he
for-
was little?
No, that was when he
No.
was Moline.
Moline,
Oh,
Illinois.
okay. I thought there was
But I
an
lost
accident
one
with
finger
it.
first, and I lost it in 40.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, we came to Grandma's, and Carl, he had his hand wrapped up, and I said, "No, don't tell me you've got some fingers cut off." "Yeah, I do a good job," and he had all 4 of them cut off.
Some kind of blade in the machine shop fell down on it.
Oh, okay. I thought somebody got hurt in a buggy accident.
That was Ralph.
He fell out of the Surrey and
I
he hit
fell
on
out
the
of the Surrey
stick.
because Carl's, I stepped on his hand or something. We wasn't in the seat, you know, we had to sit on the floor. And we were going from Rose Hill or some
To
place to Buxton to visit Aunt Bertha. And anyway, the wheel run over my fingers.
Oh, okay.
And the kids were out around the house playing, and I run from window to window. I wanted to see what they were doing, and they just wore me out. I was running from one window to the other.
How big was Buxton when it was its biggest? About 6,000 people or something?
2 of Grandma and Grandpa's children were born in the United States, and the others were born over in Sweden. And I remember Grandma telling us that our grandpa came over here first and came out to Iowa and got a job and went to Uncle Martin's. And then my dad, or my grandpa, I guess it was, sent for him. Wait a minute. It was Mr. Olson sent for his sister and her 2 kids. That was my dad and the 2 children. And, but anyhow, Mom said they came over on a great big ship. She thought it was awfully big because she was small. And she said they would, I said, "What did you do in the daytime?" She said, "We played on the ship." She said the waves would cause the ship to go up and down, and they would run down and wait for it to go up, and then they'd run back down the other way. See, she said we had a lot of fun just running down all the time. And that's what they did on the ship.
How they entertained themselves. Well, they must not have been sick or anything coming over.
No, I don't think
Must
any
have
of
been
them.
pretty good.
A large ship like that, they wouldn't see.
Yeah. Irene, do you know?
It was a big ship, big sailing vessel.
Do you have any idea
Wasn't small.
how big this
But it-
community of Buxton was at its peak?
I don't know.
I think it was around 12,000, the largest that it was, and it had, I think you've still got a picture of it, well, I've got a picture of the YMCA at Buxton, and it was the largest YMCA built west of the Mississippi at the time. And it had for the black people and the white people, 2 different, they didn't have to play basketball or anything. And that used to be some people that went around and give plays and that. And he came up to the store and wanted to know if I knew of anybody that had pictures of when they were, what was it? It wasn't an opera show, it was.
Kind of a theater troupe, some
Yeah.
sort of traveling
Aunt Bertha
theater group?
had a copy of it, I guess, but I don't know what she ever did with it. Telling that they were gonna be there, but they came in the store when I had the store and wanted to know if I knew of anybody that had pictures of the YMCA.
Did, so after the mine closed, the
No,
town
they went-
died?
No, after the mine closed, they went up to 17, then they went up to 18, and there's a lot of people here in the town that worked at the mine in 18. So, and I think that's the end of it, 18.
18 was the last one?
Well, there may have been some more. What was the mine southwest now? 18 was the last one by number, I know.
And then did the Buxton family move on
Well, they.
once they ran out of
went
coal
back.
around here?
They left.
They left?
Went someplace else.
Have you seen that picture of Buxton and showing the coal mines and Mother's picture is in it? Have you seen
Yeah,
it?
book?
there's that
Yeah,
one
the
problem.
book, yeah. But it just all disappeared then after there was no more coal.
The miners went to other mines,
Uh-huh.
wherever they could find.
Aunt
Yeah.
Bertha's husband went to another mine there by Hocking or something. And then he
About
ended up
done, Gil.
sheriff and working in the mine.
It's getting close to empty.
Oh, okay. We're just about out of tape. We'll have to get another tape sometime and ask some other questions. Anybody want to make a correction? Anybody want to correct what somebody else said?
I think we have about it all.
Okay.